If chanting has ever left you feeling more tired, depleted, instead of feeling more settled, now you know why. Because sound does not negotiate with the nervous system, it enters directly. Now, what modern wellness often misses is how carefully sound was used in the traditional. So imagine if you picked up the wrong mantra and you were chanting with the wrong method, you can expect the results to backfire. In this section, I'm going to talk about sound. There's a famous scene in Stranger Things where they explain how music can pull someone back from psychological collapse because sound reaches the brain much faster than the words. That line might sound very cinematic, but neurologically it is accurate. The auditory system has one of the fastest pathways to the parts of the brain that regulate safety, emotion, survival, long before thinking even kicks in. That single fact explains why sounds, mantra, chanting have existed in every serious healing system. But it also explains why sound can heal or destabilize depending on how it is used. Today I'm going to talk about mantras, not as a ritual or belief, but as a precise regulatory tool for longevity and nervous system health. In the previous modules, we restored rhythm through breath and reduced internal noise through sound awareness. Beej Mantra comes after that preparation. Very important. We have already crossed the stage of sound awareness and breathing, and now we are transitioning to the sound. Remember that sequence. We are not doing this because it's powerful, because it is fast. Vibration bypasses logic and goes straight to regulation. It's like tuning into that frequency of the radio, and that makes it effective, but also at the same time very dangerous if misused. So this module is about understanding when to use, not to chant more, but understanding which sounds work, how they work, when they should be used and when they should not be used. So stay tuned till the end of the video. Beej Mantra is all about vibration as a regulation and not just an expression. If breath brings the system back into rhythm, sound is what reorganizes it. Remember the tuning of the frequency in the radio? Now, this is not a spiritual claim, it's a neurological one. Sound reaches the nervous system before meaning does, before interpretation does, before your belief system starts working. Because there's no processing involved here. And that is why mantras work even when the mind does not even understand those words or syllables. The body responds to that frequency, the rhythm, the consistency, not really the philosophy or the thought behind it. And this is why sound appears in healing systems across cultures that never even interacted with one another. And they were not copying each other. They were just responding to the same biological truth. Now, what modern wellness often misses is how carefully sound was used in the traditional systems. Sound was never meant to be an emotional catharsis or a dramatic expression or a constant repetition. It was introduced only after the system was stable enough to receive that vibration. Because sound does not negotiate with the nervous system, it enters directly. So imagine if you picked up the wrong mantra and you were chanting with the wrong method, you can expect the results to backfire. It can also overstimulate you. It can create more anxiety in your system. Now let's understand why Beej Mantras were created. Beej Mantras were not created for a meaning, but they were created for more predictability, more standardization, and more ease of use with the direct and most impact. Short neutral syllables like lum, wum, hum. Now these are chosen because they do not activate the language centers strongly. They reduce the cognitive load. You don't need to understand or interpret them. So neuroscience now describes this through neural entrainment, which is predictable repetitive input calms the neural firing patterns. Ancient systems observed the same thing and designed the Beej Mantras accordingly. Now, what happens when you are singing complex mantras? They engage your thought. whereas a Beej Mantra actually bypasses that. Now, for longevity work, this distinction becomes very important because one is you have to prepare your system for the sound, and second is you must, once you feel settled and you're doing it, you don't waste so much energy into understanding the emotions, the meaning, the logic behind it, and you just repeat that frequency in a most consistent manner. Now, I use the word that your system must feel settled. What does it mean? That means that you should be breathing from your nose, not through your mouth. It should be a calm breathing. The jaws of your face should be relaxed, and the exhales should be longer than the inhale. So once you are in that condition, you've done it for 2-3 minutes, you will be in a settled state of mind. Now, what happens if you have not done this? If these conditions are not present, the sound tends to amplify the tension instead of resolving it. And as a result, you will start feeling overstimulated. And this is why many people say that chanting makes them anxious or restless, or they feel depleted. It's not really the mantra, but it is also the state where your nervous system was ready to receive that vibration. So today I'm going to talk about 3 beej-based sound practices which are safe to do. And I'm very conservative here because these are practices when I put out on social media, I wanted to make sure that these are consistent and these are safe for unsupervised daily use. Now let's talk about what are these 3 sounds. The first is low frequency humming. This is not really chanting or singing. It is like a closed mouth hum, low in pitch, felt in the chest and the throat area. You should feel the vibration in the chest and the throat area. Now, research has shown that humming stimulates the vagus nerve mechanically and increases the parasympathetic activity. Now, this helps calm the nervous system and reduces your internal noise. If the hum feels grounding and slightly dull, that means you are doing absolutely the right thing which needs to be done. But if it is becoming expressive, emotional, or you feel the energy is going upwards towards your brain, then it can overstimulate you. So when you are doing this practice, notice where are you feeling the vibration. And if you are feeling overstimulated, then this is not the right technique to do it. Probably you need to prepare your nervous system a little more before you jump into the practicals. The second sound is a single syllable beej repetition. Now, Beej Mantra is a very short neutral sound which is repeated steadily without emotional emphasis and without tightly controlling the breath. The key here is not the pronunciation but the consistency and the repetition. When the mind gets bored, regulation automatically starts to happen. Has it ever happened where you were singing a song to your child, to a young toddler, and then they went off to sleep of boredom? Exactly the same thing. Without understanding much logic behind it, the meaning of it, we just have to stick to that consistent vibration by repeating that short neutral syllable. If the sound pulls the mind into imagery or meaning, it is trying to do too much. The third sound is silent internal repetition, but only after you have practiced the vocal sound. Now, silent mantra stabilizes. It does not clear your thoughts. Remember that. If you start getting into silent meditation, like right away, the mind can feel agitated. Research has shown that silent repetition modulates the default mode network, the system involved in rest and recovery, but only when the nervous system is already in a regulated state. Traditional systems always taught sound before silence for the very same reason. So if you are someone who's struggling with silent meditation, first try the loud vocal sound like a Beej Mantra and then try and step into the silence, come more easily to you. Now, when Beej Mantra should not be used, this is very, very important because sound should not be used when someone is already in a state of acute anxiety or panic, if somebody is going through a certain active trauma or PTSD symptoms, somebody is feeling a little surreal or hallucinated or emotionally flooded. So in these states, sound can actually amplify limbic activation instead of calming it. And that is not the result that we want from the sound meditation. Clinical literature clearly shows that increased inward attention without regulation can actually worsen the symptoms of vulnerable nervous system. And when we talk here about longevity, we want to prioritize safety, familiarity, predictability over experience. Now let's talk about when to do it, how much to do it, and what to expect when you're using sound as a tool for longevity. Beej Mantra works best at the end of the day when external demands are already complete. Please do not use it as a productivity tool, do not use it as a morning activation, because this is to be done when you want to regulate your nervous system, preferred at the end of the day. And the duration also matters more than the intensity. How loud you are doing does not matter. So maybe 1 to 3 minutes of vocal sound followed by 1 to 2 minutes of silent continuation, and that's it. Because here we are not training our system for endurance, but we are just restoring coherence through a certain vibration. What you should notice here is that when you are doing this practice, you should automatically experience a softer jaw, loose face muscles, a quieter internal field, less effort required to sitting still. But on the other hand, if you feel euphoric, you feel wired, emotional, or depleted, that means that it was overstimulation, not really healing. So Beej Mantra is not really a spiritual accessory or a spiritual practice. It is very much a biological and energetic regulator. When you use this with restraint, it clears the internal noise and prepares the system for silence. But if you do not prepare your nervous system and get straight into the sound and vibration, it can shorten the recovery, it can overexcite your system. Because longevity does not need intensity, it needs coherence, predictability, safety, and familiarity. And when the sound restores coherence, silence becomes accessible without even effort. And that is where we'll be stepping next. If chanting has ever left you feeling more tired, depleted, instead of feeling more settled, now you know why. Sound works, but only when the nervous system is ready to accept that vibration. Subscribe if you want ancient practices explained with clarity, restraint, and respect for the body and relevant to the modern times. I'll see you in the next video.